This is My House is written and illustrated by Arthur Doros. When you hear this sound, it's time to turn the page. In his travels through South and Central America, Asia, Europe, the Middle East, and the South Pacific, Mr. Doros saw firsthand many of the houses in this book. You can learn how to say, "This is my house," in 17 languages. This is my house. My grandfather built it. When we put on a new roof, the house will keep us warm and dry again.
I live in Japan. これは私の家です。This is my house.
People make houses out of whatever they can find. There are houses with walls of stone, or wood, or mud, or grass. There are houses with walls of paper, walls of snow, even houses on wheels. Thousands of years ago, huts could be made of mammoth bones covered with animal hides or branches covered with leaves. Caves were also a place to be safe and warm.
I live in Turkey. Bu benim evimdir. This is my house. My family made our house in a cave. We carved the cave into a tall rock and put in windows. We painted the inside walls white. It's different from the caves people lived in long ago.
I live in the USA. This is my house. This is where I live right now. My family is staying in our car. We will move into a house when we can.
I live in Saudi Arabia. Haza Manzili. This is my house. I live in a tent in the desert. Tents are movable houses. We need to move a lot to find water and food for our animals.
I live in Mongolia. Aina Mini Gur. This is my house. Our tent in the mountains has a door. A floor and carpets keep us off the cold ground. We can carry our tent, called a yurt, when we move.
I live in Brazil. Esta casa é minha. This is my house. My whole house is made of plants. Where we live, there are plants all around us. We use dried plants called thatch to cover the roof. Many families live together in our house.
I live in Samoa. O Lau Pale Lene. This is my house. Our house is as round as a coconut. Everyone in the family helped build our house. We built it without walls so the air would blow in. The breeze keeps the house cool during the hot days.
I live in New Zealand. This is my house. We use wood from the forests to make strong houses and other buildings. We cut up logs and nail the wood together.
I live in Russia. Это мой дом. This is my house. We live in a wooden house made of logs.
I live in New Guinea. This Bella and me house belong me. This is my house. We live in a house on wooden stilts.
I live in Norway. Dette er mitt hus. This is my house. Our wooden house has a roof that grows. It is covered with moss and other plants.
I live in Bolivia. Aka Utahala. This is my house. I live in the high mountains where there are few trees. We built our house out of stone.
I live in Egypt. Haza Manzili. This is my house. We need to add new thatch to the roof of our stone house every year. The thatch wears away, but the stone doesn't. A stone building can last for thousands of years.
I live in Mexico. Esta es mi casa. This is my house. Our house is made of mud. It is almost finished. We form adobe bricks from wet mud. Then the bricks are dried in the sunlight. We fill cracks and smooth the walls with more mud. After our day's work, we visit my grandmother. She built her adobe house by herself.
I live in Mali. Niye Nek Soye. This is my house. Each of these mud brick buildings is a part of my house. My grandparents, parents, brothers, and sisters have their own buildings. The buildings are connected by a wall. My grandfather carved pictures from stories on the walls and doors of our house.
I live in Indonesia. Ini rumah saya. This is my house. In my house, the garden is part of the living room. Everyone in the family lives in rooms around the garden. Rain falls into the garden, but the rest of the house stays dry. The wall of dried mud that surrounds our house has its own roof, so the wall won't wash away.
I live in a pueblo in the USA. This is my house. Each pueblo also has its own language. Our houses connect together to form a pueblo. Many families live close together in the pueblo. My best friend lives at the top of that ladder. I live in the Netherlands. Dit is mijn huis. This is my house. We live in houses that are connected too. My father is a bricklayer. He uses baked mud bricks to build rows and rows of houses.
I live in Hong Kong. Ni gan hai nyang gan ak. This is my house. The building I live in is made of cement and steel. Families live in groups of rooms called apartments on each floor. Workers on bamboo scaffolding 30 floors high are finishing another apartment building. People from apartments below hang laundry on the scaffolding.
I live in Thailand. Niben Ban Gonchun. This is my house. My houseboat floats through the waves. We move our house around the city to sell fish we catch. At night, our house rocks us to sleep. Houses can be built into the sky or on the water.
People without houses make shelters from cardboard or whatever they can find. A house can be a small room or a tall building. People who live in the same part of the world can live in different kinds of houses. And people who live in different parts of the world can live in the same kinds of houses. A house can be big or small, in the country or in a city. Wherever it is, The people who live in a house make it their home.